Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Wine and Crime, the podcast where two friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Lucy.
I'm Amanda.
Oh, today we have a very special gals pick.
You're not special today. We're special today.
I think this was a me pick. I think it came about during the autopsies episode when I was like, oh shit, there's way more to talk about here.
Did you talk about coffin births?
Yes.
On
Drunk Dive.
Patreon? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I wondered if that might have also encouraged this, but God only knows. Things with death and the stomach.
I was sufficiently pregnant when I decided to do the coffin births episode, and it honestly was like a soothing, like a coping mechanism for me. I loved it.
My little Looney Tune. Lucy, my little Looney Tune.
I'm not right.
No,
I'm not right.
God bless it.
I am not
right.
A beacon of hope for anybody.
Something is off.
I'm not a North Star.
No,
I'll say
you're my North Star.
You're mine. Well, for certain things.
Yeah, on occasion.
I actually was thinking earlier today about I might be in the mood to get another tattoo. Like I have one. Would I get a second one?
Fuck my plans. I will be in Iowa in 4.5 hours.
I might get it from someone up there. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't thought of
plant these exciting seeds for me.
I haven't thought of anything that I want enough.
I mean, same. And I just do it anyway.
I know. You're the worst person to mull this over with.
I'll get a matching one with you. It will be so meaningful to absolutely no one in my life but me.
It's going to get something super bland like a crescent moon or something.
Let's do it. And let's get a crescent moon with a cat sitting on it with its little tail coming down.
Oh, that'd be cute. Because I am a Cancer who's completely ruled by the moon and my emotions and the tides.
And there's a cat in your lap
and
right
cats.
The fuck now.
There is a cat in my lap right now.
I want to get a two-wolf moon cat portrait of beans and pepperoni with a moon in the background, full back piece.
That's so cute.
That would be cute.
Don't do a full back piece because you're gonna have more cats in your life because they're gonna die within your life.
Beans will never fucking die.
She will though.
I can't.
Let's face reality now. Let's temper your expectations.
I can't think about that. I got very upset.
You don't have to think about it, but just know that I'm
aware.
Probably die after Beans.
Beans and I will die the same day at the exact same time so that I never have to live a moment again without her.
You're one of those pet owners.
I am fucking now.
It's shocked that your pet died before you.
I've had many pets. I've had many pets who have passed away. I don't like to play favorites in the life of my pets. They've all been devastating in their own way, but there is something about this cat that has me in a fucking emotional chokehold. Sometimes I will just look at her and she's so cute that I get really overwhelmed and I start to cry.
Well, unless you own a parrot or a tortoise that lives longer than a human, I feel like you shouldn't expect.
It's fine. I'm going to have her either cloned or cryogenically frozen so she can be reanimated when the technology catches up. Just like I'm going to do with myself because I'm too selfish to face the reality of death. Anyway, speaking of the reality of death, what is our gal's pick today?
My child laughed for the first time today.
So amazing. Oh.
Speaking of the brevity of life.
So sweet and amazing that you just lose your mind. Yeah, that's fucking incredible.
Oh God, Ray. He's struggling. Hold on. He might unplug my microphone. Okay.
Put him out of his misery.
I really should. I should take him out
What's our topic today?
Oh, our topic.
Yours. Take it, mama. It's yours.
It's kind of my topic. I sort of plugged this into the calendar when we did autopsies, the autopsy crimes. So today's topic is Last Supper. So like stomach contents.
There it is.
I'm so excited.
The jambonnet pineapple. We're not talking about that.
Oh, fuck. I missed a golden
outside of me mentioning it just now. Well, we've covered JonBenet Ramsey's case before, so the pineapple has already made an appearance.
Well, I could have done a deep dive into the pineapple, but yes.
That's okay.
That kind of shit. There's lots of opportunities for commentary on like what you've eaten close to your last meal, your last supper.
My stomach contents, if examined, would be humiliating.
Shocking.
At basically any moment in my life. I don't want to die under mysterious. Oh, I wish. That would be so good. I don't want to die under mysterious circumstances anyway, just because, I don't want my loved ones to deal with that. Yeah. But if I do die in such a way that requires autopsy, I'm so glad that I will be too dead to be embarrassed by the stomach contents. Today, it would mostly be like high chews and wow, I've had a really bad food day. High chews, microwave Easy Mac. Is that all I've eaten today? I did throw up this morning.
Oh, babe.
Well, it happens. So I didn't eat that much. I only had like 2 tragic snacks that would like get my blood sugar back up. And now I'm going to have some wine. So I feel better. I threw up hours ago.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
The only thing I've eaten today is not even just like a can, but like one of the bigger cans of SpaghettiOs with meatballs.
You fucking love SpaghettiO. I'm glad that we're both having a really gross food day.
I mean, here's the thing. I hold my child for most of the day while Corey goes to work, and then we record at night. So for the most part, what I eat during the day is like one-handed
exactly.
Items.
Easy to microwave or heat up with one pot.
Yep.
And just plop into a bowl and eat with a spoon while you've got one hand occupied.
It's just like it's not what I want to eat. It's what I'm able to eat, like holding a child with one hand. But
on days like today, there's a fortunate alignment of you always want to eat SpaghettiOs.
I mean, yes, that's because, I always keep a fresh stock of SpaghettiOs, like canned SpaghettiOs on hand, but also...
What does fresh mean when it comes to SpaghettiOs? Like within a year?
Bitch. I don't know.
Within a year of purchase, you eat them?
But I'll also just forewarn...
fresh shelf-stable stock.
I did have to leave the house to go to the grocery store, met up with my friend. We maybe went to the bar, so I maybe have a fresh layer of like vodka and like grapefruit juice in there as well.
Good.
So if you were to autopsy my stomach right now, it would be a very uncomfortable blend of SpaghettiOs with meatballs and Tito's and grapefruit juice. Listen, there's a reason you don't like recount what you've recently eaten.
Yeah, it's not.
That's my whole day today.
It's not a pretty picture.
No vegetables. I can tell you that.
Not a fucking one. I am having a salad for dinner because my neighbor is making Caesar salads and they are dropping some off for me.
I am hoping
while we're recording this, actually.
I'm hoping that Corey will roast the Brussels sprouts that I prepared. I did prepare vegetables
you just
for my husband to make.
That's fine.
Whether he makes them, I don't know. Okay, anyway, let's get on to it. So yeah, Last Supper, stomach contents, all that forensics. We got some juicy forensics here.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, let's talk about our wine crime pairing, Amanda.
Well, I don't have a wine that's like a perfect match for today. I am drinking the 2018 Rosa Obscura Red Blend because I had it on hand, but I do want to share some information that I got that connects the benefits of red wine in general to overall gut health. Mostly to make me feel better about drinking red wine on an Easy Mac and high chews being the only thing I ate today when I threw up like 10 hours ago. It's fine.
Oh, did I make you feel better about your diet?
You did. You did make me feel better about what I've eaten today, at least. You made me feel a lot better. So I found this article because everyone is always like, oh yeah, red wine, so it can be good for you and it has antioxidants and blah, blah, blah. But I wanted to like go a little deeper into like why that's even the case. So I found this article from healthline.com entitled Red Wine Gut Health Benefits. So this says if you're going to drink alcohol, make it red wine. That's been the growing consensus for a while, and a new study adds to that argument. Researchers in the United Kingdom say that people in their study who drank red wine had healthier levels of bacteria in their gut than people who drank other types of alcohol. They also found drinking red wine was associated with lower BMI, which is controversial. And also BMI was like a literal product of racism. So like, fuck BMI, but it is still used in a medical capacity, unfortunately. But it also lowers levels of LDL, which is, the quote unquote bad cholesterol, like the cholesterol that can more severely harm your heart function. So it lowers that cholesterol. The findings build off of previous findings about the potential health benefits of drinking red wine, at least compared to the benefits of drinking other types of alcohol. Quote, if you had to choose one type of alcohol, red wine would be the one to pick, said Caroline Leroy, PhD, a researcher at King's College London, and first author of the new study. We also saw a low amount of red wine seem to have an effect, she added. So if you choose to drink red wine, drink in moderation because that's all you'll probably need. Okay, well, fuck you, Caroline Leroy. I'm going to drink as much as I fucking want. Alcohol, including red wine, can raise your chances of several types of cancer, just because alcohol in general can do that. The less alcohol you drink, the lower your risk of cancer, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The agency also says that long-term alcohol use can lead to problems with your heart, your liver, your gut, and your memory. It can also lead to social problems such as productivity or unemployment. This is obviously getting into the space of like substance use disorder. So it's just, stuff to be mindful of. The United States Department of Agriculture's dietary guidelines recommend that if alcohol is consumed, it should be no more than 1 drink per day for women and 2 drinks per day for men. That feels sexist. Fuck off. But here are the specific benefits of red wine. The emerging consensus appears to be to make those 1 or 2 drinks red wine. A review of recent studies last year, for example, found 1 to 2 glasses of specifically red wine a day has been associated with human health promotion as well as disease prevention and outcomes. A 2016
What if you don't like red wine? Because I don't like red wine.
Learn to like it, bitch. You did find one. You drank one a couple weeks ago that you liked. It was like a Pinot something? Pinotage, maybe?
It was a Pinotage. I think it was a Pinot Noir.
They're basically the same thing.
Yeah, but like, I guess if I drank more than 1, if I drank less than 1 or less, it would conform to these guidelines. But like, I don't know. If I drink more than 1 glass of red wine, I feel nauseous. I feel gross.
Listen, if I want to get my buzz on, I'm not picking red wine. But if I want to like nurse a glass, especially if like with dinner, red wine is going to be where it's at. If I want to get a buzz on, I'm probably going to rip a shot. I'm not going to follow these fucking guidelines. Right. Come at me, bro. A 2016 study found that people with conditions such as high blood pressure and high blood sugar saw improvements in the levels of beneficial bacteria in their gut after drinking red wine. Having better gut microbiota of bacteria has been linked to better heart health and metabolism. In the most recent study, Dr. Leroy and her colleagues found people who drank red wine had not only improved gut microbiota, but had lower BMI and lower levels of LDL cholesterol, which can cause heart disease. Those last two observations, she said, quote, might be partly due to gut microbiota diversity. But Leroy said, quote, we think it's connected because we know gut microbiota is involved in heart disease. The potential link between red wine and gut health could help explain the other big potential benefit red wine has been linked to, which is heart health, which is what I have heard about before.
Yes.
Some studies have found people who drink moderate amounts of red wine have lower rates of heart disease and high blood pressure. But like other wine health claims, this is still a matter of debate. The American Heart Association says that the linkage reported in many of these studies may be due to other lifestyle factors rather than alcohol. Such factors may include increased physical activity and a diet high in fruits and vegetables and lower in saturated fats. Like people who are drawn to red wine as their alcohol of choice are like already making other, in many cases, other quote unquote healthy choices in their lives. So it's kind of hard to tell. Red wine does contain polyphenols. And this says that last point is what Leroy thinks likely explains the benefits associated with red wine in her study. Polyphenols, a chemical with antioxidant and other beneficial properties, are found in red wine in much higher numbers than other types of alcohol, including white wine. So white wine has some, but the red wine has more prolonged contact with the skins. And so you get the nutrients that like come from the skin. White wine is typically white, not just because the grape is white, but they also limit some of the contact with the skins during the pressing. She said there are 7 times more polyphenols in red wine than white wine, and she believes that's what explains the association with better gut bacteria and likely heart health. Quote, many studies have shown polyphenols have an effect on gut microbiota, Leroy said, but polyphenols are also found in berries, chocolate, beans.
Oh, I'm so healthy.
Yeah, these are a few of my favorite things.
Vodka, SpaghettiOs.
Oh, beans, and a variety of fruits and vegetables. So I just thought that was really interesting and would be kind of a fun way to link the fact that I do not have a good wine pairing today with the red wine that I do have on hand, which again is the Rosa Obscura. It's a California red blend. It's 14.2% ABV. The varietals are not listed. We've discussed that many times that especially in the US, if you're drinking a wine blend, they don't have to tell you exactly what the varietal is in there, but that you can get an idea of what your blend is made of from not only the tasting notes, but the bottle shape. So this bottle shape does suggest to me that this is a cab-heavy red blend, as do the tasting notes, which boast red fruit, juicy berry flavors, rich, full-bodied wine with a nice, smooth texture. So I would imagine this is probably like a cab Zin type, especially if it's out of California. Those are going to be like your top 2 blended reds. So should we pop it open?
Let's pop it.
Fucking not.
I also have yet another simply spiked limeade.
Here we go.
Oh,
the polyphenols.
That was a nice pop.
Indeed. Cheers to you.
Oh,
that is a good sound. Yeah, that's real nice.
That sounds great.
It does.
I'm going to crack this open real quick.
Do it. Oh, that was like a commercial grade crack.
Well, I got really strong post-baby nails.
Yeah, you do.
I didn't risk breaking anything. Cheers, bitch.
Cheers to you.
Oh, may our stomach contents be
less embarrassing at our death.
May I not die tonight. May I have eaten a banana in the last week before I die.
Oh, God. I don't remember the last time I had a fruit that wasn't in a chewable candy form. Okay. Before we dive into your segment, should we take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Gotta give a quick shout out to Rocket Money, who sends me regular emails about anytime any of my subscription prices increases.
Oh, I love that.
Because I don't pay attention to that.
No.
And Rocket Money does. And not only that, but Rocket Money can help you cancel unwanted subscriptions with just a couple clicks. They are really looking out for you in this thing we call adulthood that none of us are prepared for.
I literally just used it the other day because I had done a free trial of like a remote control app. Don't ask. Don't ask. And I forgot about it, and they charge $25 a year for a remote control app for a TV that I will never be in the same room with again.
Oh my Lord.
I know. See, this is why I need Rocket Money. They have saved me so many times. And if you're wondering what Rocket Money is that we are going so ham for, Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. It's truly amazing. With Rocket Money, I have full control over my subscriptions and a clear view of my expenses. So I can see all of my subscriptions in one place. And if I see something I don't want, like a remote control app that's $25, Rocket Money can help me cancel it with a few taps. And it's just such an easy interface. Like, I love how the dashboard shows me this month's spending compared to last month. I can clearly see my spending habits, and they help me curate a custom budget and keep my spending on track. Rocket Money will even negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. So all you have to do is submit a picture of a recurring bill that you have, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. They will deal with customer service for you and see if they can get you a better rate. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. More for members like me with impulse control problems and ADHD. Rocket Money is truly your best friend. Do not sleep on this.
Yeah, I paid way too much for an accidental year of Facetune. If you know how much I post on social media, you know how much I used that.
That's incredible.
I know. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/gals. That's rocketmoney.com/gals, rocketmoney.com/gals, and treat your budget.
Treat it. Stitch Fix is my favorite thing. They send you style so good you can feel it, baby. They deliver all the confidence that comes with a truly amazing outfit without any of the work. It's like the most amazing service ever. With Stitch Fix, you literally get a human stylist who understands your style, your size, and your budget. They do all of the shopping for you. Then they send it to your house. You can try it on at home with your good lighting, in your good mirror, with like the good fan blowing on you so you're not getting sweaty in the dressing room.
Yes.
It's the easiest way to transform your wardrobe this and any season.
Yeah, I got my Stitch Fix last week, and I kept everything in that box. That felt so good. And when you keep everything, you get a huge discount. So I can't speak highly enough about Stitch Fix. I normally wear a lot of like black and gray. And I specifically asked my stylist to please help me introduce some color to my wardrobe because it's all looking the same.
Yeah, you're like our little Wednesday. You want to branch out.
I do want to branch out. It's spring. So now I have some like terracotta colored joggers.
Cute.
Yeah, among other things. So like I said, she really helps me take my wardrobe to the next level. My stylist knows what works for me, sometimes even better than I do myself. Would I have picked out terracotta colored joggers on my own? No.
Probably not.
But I love them. They look real cute with the shoes that I also got in my fix.
Yes.
So they help me discover new things about my style. It's like my stylish best friend is shopping for me. And it just makes you feel more confident when you put on like a really good outfit. They also come with like a little card that shows you how to style all of your new looks. And when you look good, you feel good. And it shows. So I just give my stylist my size, my style, my budget preferences. When I was pregnant, I had to pull maternity clothes. They've got everything. So I order boxes when I want to, how I want to. There's no subscription required. And then she sends 5 just for me pieces plus outfit recommendations. And like I said, these pro styling tips. So I just keep what I love. I send back the rest in a prepaid envelope. It couldn't be easier. This is a personalized styling service.
It's so nice, too, because once you're, like, set up with Stitch Fix, they have your sizes saved so that when you are shopping on their website for stuff that you just want or, like, putting together your box, like, you're more confident that the stuff that's arriving is actually going to fit.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, like, it gives you so much peace of mind.
We've also talked about jeans before.
Listen, all of my jeans that fit are from Stitch Fix selections.
That is
I'm shook.
a miracle in itself.
It's actually a miracle. So this is style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/gals. That's stitchfix.com/gals. One more time, stitchfix.com/gals. And treat your wardrobe.
Treat it.
Lucy, what is our background in psych and whatever the fuck else you're going to ruin my life with for Last Supper? Because I know it's coming. I know something's coming.
I don't think there's nothing terribly disturbing here.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with like autopsies because that's where we get the stomach contents from. So
Sure.
In most autopsies, the contents of the stomach are important pieces of evidence that can sometimes serve as forensic evidence between accidental death and foul play.
Mm-hmm.
While like popular media may portray this investigation as pathologists emptying the deceased stomach contents to analyze them in hopes of figuring out what they ate and when they ate it, it's not quite that in actual real life.
Okay.
They definitely empty the stomach contents, but like we'll get to it.
But wait, there's more.
There's definitely more.
Okay.
Forensic pathologists collect samples from organs and other body tissues to be sent to pathology for further testing. So it's not just stomach contents when we talk about, for example, toxicology reports.
Sure.
It's different fluids from different parts of the body.
Okay.
Autopsies can only be performed if they receive the proper consent from the family and are performed by forensic pathologists who are assisted by a mortuary or pathology technician. And these examinations can take up to 3 hours. So
is the family consent thing, though, kind of overridden if there is a crime afoot?
Yes. If they suspect that it is foul play, then like police basically can override that, or like a court authority can override that.
Mm-hmm. Because otherwise anyone like killing their spouse could be like, no autopsy and help, hide evidence.
Right. And I think I feel like we talked about this recently, but like if the courts don't want an autopsy, or if nobody is pushing for an autopsy outside of the family, if the family wants an autopsy, then they have to pay for it. And it's several thousands of dollars.
Yes, it is.
Whereas if the court orders it, if they think that there's somebody to prosecute, if there's foul play, then the state will cover it.
Mm-hmm.
The stomach contents are just a part of an autopsy if we're talking about like possible poisoning or, it depends on what the perceived cause of death really is.
Okay.
So you may recall some of this information from our autopsies episode, which was like 25 episodes ago.
25 years ago.
But I did want to set the scene here because I just love autopsies. So
you do.
The corpse is laid out on an examination table, which is set to be at waist level, so it allows for easy ergonomic examination of the body because you got to protect your back.
Mm-hmm.
You got to have it at the right level.
Sure.
And I also have to imagine that they're on like a lift of some sort.
They must be, because every body is different.
Yeah. If you're a short pathologist, you're going to want that at the proper level.
Mm-hmm.
The table is stainless steel. It's also mobile and slightly slanted with raised edges and a running water source at the top that allows for easy washing away of bodily fluids.
Yeah. Things are
You're going to encounter a lot of fluids.
Leaks happen.
Leaks happen. The pathologist utilizes a scalpel to make the Y incision, which begins between the top of the shoulders and the armpits and then extends downward towards the lower abdomen from each shoulder.
Sure does.
So that's your Y incision.
Mm-hmm.
After the incision is made, the skin is pulled away to allow for an easier view of the organs. The ribs are removed to expose the organs for further examination. And then the pathologist will, not always, this is like a different technique, but the most common technique is for the pathologist to remove all of the internal organs at the same time, like right away.
Take them all out and put them in like a bucket.
Well, they put them on a separate table for A, further examination and like dividing them up.
Okay.
And also B, for weighing them individually. They weigh them.
Okay, that makes sense because certain organs could be like enlarged or too small, and that could indicate cause of death as well.
Exactly. Like if you have a super enlarged heart, if your heart weighs like however many grams more than the average heart of a person your age, then it's probably a heart issue.
Mm-hmm.
So weighing them is usually like the first thing that they do to determine if that's like an area they have to investigate further.
Right.
So the pathologist will then drain the intestines and dissect the stomach to view any possibly undigested food or other substances that may indicate a cause of death. So
I can only imagine how that would smell.
Oh my God. I think I told you guys about the book that I read. I think it's called Autopsy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what episode I talked about this in, but it was the lightning. I think I did a whole drunk dive about this, like lightning death.
Yes.
It's a book called Autopsy. It's by a pathologist who I think is Australian. I don't even remember. I'm so bad at this. But basically, that in that book, that author talks about like cutting open the intestines, and it's like it's very stinky because it's like it's like the sewage system of the body.
Yeah, it's waste. It's waste in different stages.
Yeah.
Of expulsion.
Yeah.
En route to expulsion.
It's not great.
No.
But hopefully the intestines like up closer to the stomach reek less than the intestines that are down closer to like the colon.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, but they have
Imagine being like in a profession where, I just hope I don't get too many reeking colons today. Gal.
Gal is right.
Gal.
But it's not going to smell good. I mean, I don't feel like you enter the profession of like a pathologist
for good smells
without the expectation of smelling bad shit frequently.
Literally.
So
yeah, that's fair. You're not a florist, honey.
No. You also like masks and stuff. Like there are ways to kind of whatever. Temper your expectations again.
Ugh.
So if a meal is fully digested, then examiners can hypothesize that the person passed at least 6 to 8 hours after their last meal. But everyone is really different. So like one of the reasons why it's sort of like a bite mark analytics in a courtroom. It varies like so widely.
Well, I mean, I think about even myself. I have fucking gastroparesis, which is partial paralyzation of my digestive system.
Yes.
So stuff is not going to follow the same, digestive protocols as like an able-bodied person.
Absolutely.
It's just not.
So when we talk about examining stomach contents to determine like when this person last ate, it's not very reliable.
It's not an exact science. Yeah.
It's super not. So like it can take up to 2 days for food to be fully reduced to the liquid pulp that the essential proteins are extracted. Like it depending on your body, it can take a while for your food to really be
broken down properly.
Pulpified enough. Yeah, exactly. That said, the stomach stops working after death, which like fucking duh. But this also creates like sort of a time capsule of the victim's last moments. So Stomach contents can also reveal if the deceased was experimenting with drugs or if they had eaten, like, for example, some exotic food that may have caused some kind of poisoning. But it's hard to say. It depends on where they lived, how they lived, whether they were traveling. Like, if you lived in so many factors, all of this is like very highly contextualized, but depending on the victim.
I mean, it's such a puzzle. Like, we'll kind of get to it in part of my segment, but like the stomach contents only give one piece of the picture.
Absolutely.
But it can be such a fucking valuable piece and then guide you in the direction of so many other things to look for. It's pretty incredible.
It's like a crazy loose puzzle piece that it ranges from like, it doesn't matter at all to like,
it matters the most out of any other
missing.
link.
Yeah. So it's really, really crucial in a lot of cases and very much a total waste of time and resources in other cases.
In others, yeah.
It's a general rule that the stomach contents are analyzed for trace elements of poisons or other toxins. But again, that's mostly in the cases of like suspected accidental deaths or suicides or homicides.
Yeah, they're not just going to check that with every cadaver that comes to the table.
Absolutely.
If there isn't reason to do so.
So, like, logistically, after the stomach is emptied, a pathologist might use a sieve tower. So, like 4 or 5 or more sieves, like, stacked on top of each other to separate the solids from the liquids.
Oh.
So, like, the contents kind of go down through it, and it's like the liquid or the solids sort of
it.
The solids are retained, the liquids are drained out. It's a sieve.
Yeah.
Then after that, it's possible to use a 70% alcohol solution to halt any enzymatic digestion and bacterial degradation of the stomach contents.
That was going to be my question, because I know you said that like the stomach and the digestive system stop working at death, obviously, but the acid and the bacteria are still in there, and those are like essentially, well, the bacteria is a living thing.
Exactly.
And so if you don't get those
that's kind of an
independent.
Yeah, that's like an independent system. So if you were really taking a close look at the solids of the stomach of a deceased person, you would probably rinse it with this 70% alcohol solution to stop that process.
So you could feasibly set it aside or store it and then come back and get the same information and not have it degrade while it's in storage.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I imagine that too can really disrupt the process of like establishing time of death if somebody, or even cause of death, if somebody was found a long time later and those bacterial and acidic properties were not halted in the stomach, then that kind of destroys that evidence too.
Yep. And I'll kind of get to that a little bit later too.
Cool. Okay.
And then as the liquid portion that kind of drains out the bottom of this sieve tower, that can be examined under a microscope to confirm what those solid foods were.
Okay.
So you could be like, oh, this kind of looks like a Brussels sprout, but I'm going to kind of
break it down on like a microscopic level.
Examine the liquids to make sure that like that kind of runoff aligns with the characteristics of Brussels sprouts or whatever.
That's fucking cool.
I'm also having Brussels sprouts for dinner later
You've
tonight,
mentioned it.
So that's why that came to mind. I'm just really excited for my Brussels sprouts. I need my cruciferous vegetables after a day of SpaghettiOs. Okay.
Yeah, felt.
According to an article on PubMed, using the stomach contents as a guide to the time of death presents many difficulties because it involves a degree of imprecision that may mislead investigators and the court. So we kind of touched on this.
Okay.
To determine the time of death, examiners look more closely at body temperature and rigor mortis for those who have had more recent deaths. Also, what's it called? The
pooling.
The liquid behind your eye.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What the fuck is that called?
I was thinking of like the liver mortis, the pooling of bodily fluids.
That too. There are lots of things that can indicate a time of death, and I think that stomach contents are not the most reliable because of all the chemical reactions at play.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
For bodies found like later, like days and weeks and months later, they look at decomposition and also insect activity, which we've definitely touched on that. One thing that I found, this is very specific, but pizza is an oddly specific food that could tell you a lot about how someone died. So generally, when someone eats pizza, it's kind of an indication of a more social, like spur-of-the-moment meal.
Interesting.
Which could indicate that the deceased was potentially lured into a false sense of security with their murderer. Again, this is all depending on context, but there's like, I found a couple of articles that specifically mentioned pizza, if you can find pizza, which usually doesn't break down for at least 2 hours after you eat it.
I was going to say pizza is a hot topic in the diabetes community because dosing insulin for pizza is like a notorious challenge because you get carbohydrates from the crust, but the toppings are almost all protein, like especially cheese and meat. That's super high protein and high fat. And so that slows the metabolizing of the carbs.
Yeah.
And so you can take, if I look at 2 pieces of pizza and in my mind's eye, I'm like, okay, that's probably 30 grams of carbs. That's probably 2 units of insulin. It might actually like plummet me right away because it's like the insulin is working on carbs that aren't even really being processed yet because they're slowed down by the fat and the protein. But then I'll spike hours later. So one of the benefits of having a pump is you can split your dose. I can give myself like 50% when I eat it and then 50% an hour later. Pizza is a wild ride, y'all. So
that diabetes math is...
It's crazy. But it doesn't surprise me to hear that like pizza is a thing in stomach contents for a multitude of reasons because it's a thing with this specific chronic condition too.
And just like the social conditions under which people generally eat pizza really can tell you about...
Not social. I am a private pizza eater.
I'll order pizza with a group, but I will eat it later in private.
Accurate.
You know how I am.
We're a frozen pizza household. If we do not know what the fuck to make, we always have frozen pizza. So Bill and I actually eat a lot of like depression pizza at home.
I actually sent my friend Ben a meme today that was like, oh, when you're at the grocery store, you pick up a frozen pizza and you're like, oh, for the next time I don't feel like cooking, I'll just have this in the freezer. And then it's like, surprise, bitch, that night is tonight.
Tonight.
Because you have a frozen pizza. You have a backup plan. You don't have to cook.
Every night, babe.
Another thing that I found interesting, again, a lot of these like kind of call outs are sort of really specific examples. But for another example, a case of mistaken identity could be cleared up if a certain food was found in the stomach contents of a victim, but that victim was allergic to that food.
Allergic or had, a religious reason not to eat it, had, was diabetic, had like a condition that would limit their consumption of that product.
Or just like hated that food, like someone hated salmon and they found salmon in their stomach. It's like something was amiss.
It's enough to cast doubt for sure. I mean, for a jury, that's really fucking important information to have if you have it available.
Because I think stomach contents are one of the few forensic pieces of evidence that point to behavior and not just something that a victim was subjected to.
Right.
It's like a thing that they did.
Or were forced into.
Exactly. Or were forced into. So the stomach contents thing is, I think, really fucking interesting.
It's fascinating.
So science and technology are making enormous strides in being able to use molecular methods to determine species diets in wildlife ecology. So they're not typically using this on like human forensic level, but it is being used in wildlife ecology.
Interesting.
It's called DNA metabarcoding.
Okay.
Do you know what PCR? I mean, we've all had PCR COVID tests, but
Oh,
it's
right,
like
right. Yes.
So it's PCR amplification, and it's basically the next generation of sequencing of complex DNA mixtures. So it's like
interesting.
This next step, like we're getting even like closer and further down into DNA coding.
Origins, coding. Okay.
Like figuring out exactly what little pieces constitute this one thing that you're examining.
Weird.
We're getting further down into these like smaller and smaller puzzle pieces that make up, a subject that we're looking at.
That's wild. Oh, and if they're starting that in wildlife, it's only a matter of time before they use similar sequencing.
Exactly. So they're able to look at like different wild animals like poop and also gastric contents, stomach contents, to look at their diet, to look at how their body is like regulating these nutrients that they're consuming. So yeah, you're right. It is only a matter of time before we use it in human forensic applications. And stomach contents have historically been used also for a magic. And maybe magic isn't the right word, but like
illusions?
Like fortune telling, kind of.
Oh, okay.
So
sorcery?
It's spelled haruspicy, but it's haruspicy.
Yes, I'm so glad you're talking about this.
Yes. So haruspicy is the divination by examining the entrails of sacrificial animals. And this obviously isn't like used a bunch today. It probably is somewhere, but this is kind of a product of ancient Rome.
As is most shit.
Exactly.
Haruspicy is my Roman Empire, okay?
It can be the same. Yeah, exactly. So in the religion of ancient Rome, which is directly derived from Etruscan religion, a haruspex or a haruspexa, I think was like the female version. Also, I started talking about this to Ben, who took fucking Latin in college.
Classic.
And he was
of
like,
course
well,
he fucking did.
That's
derived from the Latin.
Bleh. All these nouns are masculine and feminine and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, don't fucking
get out of here,
confuse
Ben.
me. Why would you study a dead religion anyway?
You mean language?
Yes. Sorry. Dead language. Dead religion. Just rolled off the tongue. I'm so sorry.
It's not dead. We're keeping it alive.
Well, it exists. It lives on in other languages.
In academia and other languages.
And Ben's brain.
And Ben. It lives on in Ben.
It lives on in Ben. So a haruspex or a haruspexa was a person trained to practice a form of divination called haruspicy, which was the inspection of the entrails of sacrificed animals, particularly the livers of sacrificed sheep and poultry.
I think it's very fucking cool. And obviously it wasn't being used in this context for these reasons. But I do think it's fucking cool how religious practices or, practices of really any nature can evolve over time into the what we know now as like to be modern, like real application.
Yeah.
I just think that shit is so cool. Like it makes me wish that I had the patience for academia, because anthropology would be so fascinating. Just the study of like humans and humanity and ways that these cultural practices have evolved over time to serve some really solid utility in our modern world. But like I'm so curious about what utility this served in this particular context. And obviously this was a cultural practice, so it served utility in that way. But it just like makes me wish we had a fucking time machine to go back and like sit in on one of these rituals. It's just, I find it so fascinating how you can link things throughout history like that.
I do too. And I understand that like when we're talking about stomach contents from like a forensic perspective, that is not the same as this hero specs that we're talking about.
But you can
however,
see the connection.
they are linked, and I think they both have to do with like seeking answers in something like entrails, the innards of animals or other living beings, you know. And yeah, anytime that intersection of like sort of like religion, magic, science, all this stuff is like a very fascinating place where modern ideas kind of stems from.
Well, for sure, because we use magic or sorcery or whatever before we really had the human understanding of certain scientific explanations.
I mean, that's how we've defined the universe.
Literally.
That's how we came up with like a fucking calendar.
Yeah. So I just think that shit like this is so cool where it's like, yeah, for where we sit, it's like, oh, wow, this could read as like a very, you know, barbaric or very like
uneducated.
Yeah, prehistoric kind of cultural practice. But it's like, what were they specifically trying to accomplish by doing this? And how has that connection then been linked to what we do now in a scientific capacity? I always think that those kinds of like links and research are super fucking interesting.
I do too. And like also think twice before you like discount practices like this, because we're
whether
doing
they be
the same
magic or
thing.
religious or cultural in any way.
And 1,000 years from now, we're going to be looking back at things that we did today and been like, how primitive, you know?
Yeah. Primitive. That's the word I was looking for before. Yeah.
So
prehistoric.
We know what you meant. We know what you meant. So various ancient cultures of the Near East, such as the Babylonians, also read omens specifically from the liver, a practice also known by the Greek term hepatoscopy or hepatomancy.
Great.
Quote, the entrails, most importantly the liver, but also the lungs and heart, contained a large number of signs that indicated the god's approval or disapproval. So
this
these
is
signs
literally just like medical research, but through the lens of a higher power, like to serve the purpose of what was applicable to them, which was like trying to communicate with the gods. And now we look at this shit and we go, oh, okay, well, that wasn't God. That was fucking liver failure. But now we know what's causing that. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, to a degree. I think a lot of these readings they did, like, for example, before they went to war or like went on long travels or like kind of put themselves out there and went on some sort of like adventure, like they were taking a risk. So this was more of like a
signs of what's to come and not signs of like what befell the creature that they were reading.
Exactly. It was more of like it was more of like a fortune telling endeavor.
Okay. So, yeah, not the same scientific application, but
not quite the same, but like your heart's in the right place. And I think that at the time they would have taken that with the exact same sincerity.
I absolutely. And I mean, you could argue that by inspecting the organs of the creatures that live in these regions, that they could indicate certain like geographical phenomena or you know, local disease, like the water supply, the food supply. Like maybe they don't know necessarily how to connect those dots, but like I could see that being an early an early practice to figure out like, okay, are we going to survive? Are we going to thrive? Or are we fucked?
Because like, what are we looking for in these modern forensics other than like omens?
Right.
And that's sort of what they were looking for as well.
That's so fucking cool.
So these signs could be interpreted accordingly to the appearance of the organs. So for example, if the liver was, quote, smooth, shiny, and full, as opposed to rough and shrunken. So the Etruscans looked for the caput iocenaris, or the head of the liver. So it's like a part of the liver. Okay, and it was like considered, it was considered a bad omen if this part was missing from the animal's liver. So the liver was like the primary part of this this practice, but I just thought it was interesting that we as humans have a history of examining the internal organs and their contents to sort of portend, future events or past events, really.
For sure we do.
So here's some interesting information from a Science Direct abstract. And no, I did not pay for the full article. This is the abstract. But to credit the author, this is by Shigeru Suzuki. The evidence derived from the experiments in this article that I did not pay for with artificial gastric juices comparing the rates of digestion from various items of food showed that fish is more quickly digested than meat, with relatively small fish being disintegrated and becoming unrecognizable within a short time. So, like, if you were to eat
I can see that.
sardines.
Fish is like such a delicate meat source, like a delicate protein.
Yeah.
It's flaky, it's lighter in color, it's not like muscly like beef is, or even chicken.
Yeah.
Pork.
Yep.
Okay.
So the lower the pH of the gastric juice, the faster the rate of digestion. Experiments with dogs to study the rate of digestion of various food products indicate that while the residual stomach contents decreased with time, there was still approximately 36% of the food being digested left in the stomach after 8 hours. So if that gives you kind of an idea of like how long it takes for food to be broken down in the stomach.
Okay, yeah.
A somewhat larger amount of food had been retained in the stomach following alcohol intake as compared with no alcohol consumption. So
alcohol slows your digestion.
Yes. If you're eating and drinking, you might have a bit more of a bellyache because the alcohol, don't know if the alcohol slows the digestion, but the digestion happens less rapidly if you are also consuming alcohol. Also, experiments performed on dogs to determine their stomach contents after death indicated that in high temperature conditions, for example, the ingested chunks of meat are reduced to like a mushy, sloppy consistency after 3 days, which suggests that digestion will proceed to some extent after death as putrefaction continues. So like I said about that,
happens faster when it's hot and wet.
Yes, but also, like I said, that 70% alcohol dilution that we're rinsing out the stomach contents with to halt that breaking down. If that doesn't occur, if it's just happening naturally, just the natural chemical reactions in the gut are going to continue to break down the food after death, even though the stomach itself is not the one that's actually doing that breaking down.
Okay.
So this also goes, all of this is to show that like stomach contents as a mean to determine like time of death is very tricky.
Yeah, it's not an exact science for sure. There's too many contributing factors that could fuck up that timeline.
Exactly. So on the topic of stomach contents here.
And last suppers.
Last suppers, I'm going to close us out with some criminals' last famous last meals and also some famous people's last meals.
Okay.
So as far as the criminals go, Timothy McVeigh was put to death by lethal injection in 2001. And if you don't remember, he was responsible for the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing that killed 168 people and injured many more. He was connected to the Whoopie Widge situation. Timothy McVeigh requested 2 pints of Ben & Jerry's mint chocolate chip ice cream.
Okay.
I would have preferred the fish food.
I love fish food.
I love the fish food. Ted Bundy was executed by electric chair in 1989. He actually declined a last meal, but he was offered a plate of steak, eggs, hash browns, and coffee, but he didn't eat any of it, which like...
Why?
Okay.
I mean, I get it. You're probably stressing out a lot right before you're being executed.
Yeah, but wouldn't you want to think, like, if you were about to be sent to the electric chair, wouldn't you be like, I want to use my best face cream. I want to use my best lip gloss. I want to use
I would. but
yeah, I want to eat the best meal.
I mean,
I don't
whatever.
know.
Fuck Ted Bundy. I'm not going to
Fuck
waste
Ted Bundy,
an ounce of time trying to figure out that fucking guy.
Touche.
Boo. Oh, wait.
What?
I forgot.
Oh my God, what?
Forgot I had
That
that.
scared the shit out of me. Okay. Boo is right.
Boo.
Thelma Barfield, known as Death Row Granny, was the first woman to be killed by lethal injection in 1984 since the reinstatement of capital punishment 7 years prior. She requested a bag of cheese doodles and a Coca-Cola.
Good for her.
Girl dinner.
Girl dinner. I literally had popcorn and Girl Scout cookies for dinner last night. Wow, I'm 2 for 2 on bad food days.
Let's stop publicly divulging our last
need
meals.
Salad to be delivered by my neighbor. Really need this.
So those were some famous criminals' last meals, and some just regular old famous people's last meals include Princess Diana, who had a last meal of Dover sole, which is it's like a white fish.
Mm-hmm.
A vegetable tempura, and a mushroom and asparagus omelet from Les Parsons in the Ritz-Carlton in Paris.
Not a bad last meal, girlfriend.
It sounds like a fucking great last meal.
Go off, not yet, queen.
Go off, princess.
Mm.
Elvis Presley had ice cream and 6 chocolate chip cookies.
That'll do it.
And Brittany Murphy had noodles, Thai leftovers, and a Gatorade.
Oh, Brittany.
I don't know what color Gatorade. If it was health, energy, flavor, recovery.
Blue Raz. God bless her.
Anyway, okay, that's all I could come up with in terms of summit content. So
You did great.
thanks. I'm so
I have some more
now.
fun stuff for us. So let's hear a quick word from our sponsors and then get to the contents of my segment.
I love it.
I, like most people around, frankly, the world, have that disruptive habit of doom scrolling at night in bed before falling asleep.
Oh my God.
It's truly like the nighttime habit that has historically been the hardest for me to kick. And that is why Hatch has been such a godsend to my sleep. Like, so many things can disrupt your sleep routine. Nighttime chores, like, I mean, some people, I don't necessarily struggle with this, but some folks, like, can't go to bed until, like, all the dishes are done and put away. I totally respect that. I'm not like that. I'm a social media scroller. I'm also a fall asleep with the TV on gal. It's just not, it's not healthy.
You never feel more awake during the day than you do at 11 p.m. when you're trying to go to sleep.
Truly. So falling into a habit of like doing these things instead of establishing a good, healthy bedtime routine is super, super easy for everybody to do. I understand. So my to-do list, it doesn't want me to sleep. Like, scroll all the things. But Hatch does want me to sleep and helps me do it. Tell us more.
Yeah. So like Amanda said, so many things try to keep us up at night. These to-do lists, putting our kids to bed, doing the dishes, social media, catching up on Below Deck. A million things don't want you to sleep. Hatch does. Hatch helps you choose sleep and creative bedtime habits that make you feel better at night and energized in the morning. I love their Hatch Plus, like little podcasts.
It's the best.
They're so nice. The Hatch Restore helps you build sleep habits that make your unwind and wake routines simple and truly enjoyable. For a screen-free bedtime, even when your to-do list wants you to choose otherwise. And like I said, with that Hatch Plus subscription, you can unlock premium routine-building features like Cue to Unwind, which signals you when it's time for bed, and Pillow Talk, love this, an audio series which is just like your favorite bedtime TV shows without the screens that keep you up. You just listen to it with your little peepers closed, and it's so much more relaxing. It just feels healthier. I cannot preach about Hatch enough.
I truly love how Hatch like tucks me in at night and gently wakes me up in the morning. It's like I have a gentle fairy godmother device.
Seriously.
That's only job is to like rock me to sleep and like gently wake me. It's absolutely amazing.
Robot mother. I love it.
Truly. I love her. So right now, Hatch is offering our listeners $20 off your purchase of the Hatch Restore and free shipping at hatch.co/gals. So visit hatch.co/gals to get $20 off and free shipping. One more time, hatch.co/gals and treat your sleep.
Trade it.
Are you ready for my cases?
Yes. I've been so excited for this topic for so long.
I have a little smattering. I've prepared a smorgasbord of some stories and tales, and hopefully as we sift through them, we can all learn a little something together.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a little taste, LOL.
I get it.
Thank you.
Fucking stop.
I wanted to share 2 examples where a forensic investigator used stomach contents to point them in the right direction, just like these 2 little bites.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these cases are anonymized, and we aren't diving into them. I just thought the forensic investigator's commentary specifically was interesting and actually very much supports what you were talking about in your segment. So, in example 1, this investigator was looking into the murder of a young woman and said, quote, the victim's last known meal had come from a fast food chain restaurant, which had a very limited menu. We found cells of cabbage, beans, and green peppers in our examination, in addition to the onions, tomato, and lettuce from like the burger that she ate.
Oh my God, I'm so hungry. I should not have come into this episode so hungry.
I know, I'm feeling it too. The first 3 items were not served at the fast food restaurant. The young woman's character was such that she would not have eaten a meal with a stranger, nor would she have eaten alone on this particular evening when she was expected at her parents' home for dinner and like she'd already eaten something.
Yeah.
So this led investigators to conclude that the victim had known her killer and was like invited to join her killer.
Pizza, the luring.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
And that was like a huge useful clue in that case. And that showed that stomach contents are often not a smoking gun, but rather a valuable part, like puzzle piece of building a case, generating leads where maybe none existed at all.
Oh my God. I feel so validated because I saw the pizza thing and I was like, that makes sense. But like, how often is that really useful? Okay.
Yeah. And maybe looking at pizza is like,
pizza not
limited.
Yeah. But like you can it's an indication of behavior.
This was an indication of behavior, and behavior that would have been enough out of the ordinary to help point out a suspect or like narrow suspects based on the stomach contents. Just the fact that there was fast food in there on top of the healthier food that she had already eaten not long before, and that she wouldn't have just decided, oh, I already ate all this food, I'm going to now like go to Wendy's.
Yeah.
So she had to have had a reason to go there and probably ate just to be polite, even if she wasn't all that hungry. She was definitely like lured or invited somewhere.
Damn.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. And then the same investigator shared another story. Quote, the second example was a case of a questioned death. In this case, a young boy died, and the prosecuting attorney suspected that the child had been drowned by his parents. But like they didn't really have a lot of evidence to support that. So the parents claimed that the death was accidental and that they were loving and concerned parents. In their sworn statements, they said that just before the boy's accident, they had fed him a snack of canned fruit cocktail. But there was no evidence of any food having been consumed by the child anywhere near the time of his death. Like his stomach was mostly empty, which indicated he hadn't eaten much all day.
Oh.
So if the boy had eaten canned fruit cocktail, we would have found evidence of such fruits as pears, peaches, cherries, grapes, or pineapple. And they found no cells in the victim's stomach contents that could in any way be identified as coming from fruit cocktail.
Those also all have those skins. Those skins stay. They also give you gas. That's what makes you toot.
In fruit cocktail, I do think they skin a lot of it sometimes in fruit cocktail.
Not the cherries anyway.
Yeah, but I don't know.
But,
Either way,
you're right.
it wasn't there. And so this called into question the sworn testimony of the parents, not just in this particular thing where they were like, no, we gave him fruit cocktail and then like sent him up for bath time and then he drowned.
Oh my God.
It's like this also raises questions about the validity of basically everything that they had said under oath, because they had lied so egregiously about something so verifiable. And so in this case, the stomach contents were used to catch the victim's parents in a lie, making them the main suspects in their own child's murder. And I don't know the outcome, but like, again, that stomach content data changing the course of an investigation where maybe they weren't looking at the parents before. And now it's like, well, why the fuck would you lie about that? Now we are going to look at you.
Wow.
So those are just some interesting uses of stomach contents that maybe aren't as like what you said, what we see in the media or on TV as how they're being used. That's like a totally different way that they're being used to guide an investigation.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
I'm like really impressed and excited.
It's fucking cool. It's fucking cool. I like these like non-conventional ways that stomach contents can be used to identify important aspects of a case.
If not even like non-conventional, like in application, but just like unexpected by people like you and me who just think of like stomach contents, like she had macaroni and cheese at this diner at this time and then went home and was murdered. Ugh. I just think that's so cool.
It's very cool. But now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes.
Yum.
Of my case.
Dude, I'm so hungry. It's not even funny.
I'm about to hurt someone. That's how hungry I am. So first, we're going to discuss something that we have talked about before. So don't freak out. I know that we've talked about this, but we're going to go a little deeper. This is what is believed to be the oldest known forensically investigated murder case in like mankind. And this is about Oetzi the Iceman.
Oetzi! He taught me German.
Which, if this sounds familiar, it's because it is. We've discussed this incredible Italian ice mummy on an episode of GAC, which I think you covered him.
I think I did too, yeah.
But the sheer amount we learned about this man and his murder 5,300 plus years ago boggles my fucking mind. So I had to revisit this because it's so perfect for this. So again, for those unfamiliar with Oetzi, check out the GAC episode 58. But here's just a quick rundown. I'm not going to go super deep into these details because you did. But in 1991, German hikers found some melting ice with the top of a corpse sticking out of it and reported a dead body. Thinking this is like your average run-of-the-mill dead person, like a lost mountain climber. Yeah.
Relatively recent.
Maybe at oldest, the body of like a World War I soldier. But this turned out to be the body of a man who lived between 3350 and 3105 BC, before Christ even.
Before Christ even.
And the authorities totally manhandled the fucking body, like did not approach this with adequate care because cops are fucking stupid and they didn't know what they were dealing with. So the body was, for example, described as making a clutching motion with its hand. And that's because he had been holding an ancient flint knife that one of the recoverers just pulled out of his hand and like tossed aside. Like that's how disrespectfully they essentially exhumed his remains from the ice. It's like, be fucking careful under any circumstances. Yes. Yeah. And there's video footage, like body cam footage that was taken of the body recovery, and it is fucking wild. Like it's on YouTube. Like if you look up Iceman recovery, you can see.
This isn't even like first responder, like
no, it's like
first responder, which is so fucking stupid to say. It's the thousands of years old, but like this isn't like a panic response. It's like a
no. I just think they didn't know what they were dealing with. They were just like, oh, it's a body. Let's get it out. They don't realize how historically significant these remains are, which to me, that's not a fucking excuse. Under any circumstances, you should be as delicate as humanly possible, especially if you think you're dealing with a crime scene and you're taking remains out of what could be a crime scene. You want to leave them as intact as fucking possible. Like, this should not be an argument at all. But anyway, they bungled it.
Yeah. If you can determine that the person is already deceased, don't fucking touch it.
If you're dealing with remains and moving remains, just do so with the utmost care. It's not that fucking hard. And, if you aren't sure of the historical significance of the remains, then bring in, anthropology, archaeology. Like, there are specific areas of science that could assist you. He's already been there for 5,000 fucking years. Like, what's another couple days?
Right.
Rope it off.
Right.
Get the experts
Rope
in there.
it off.
Rope it off. God. Anyway, so analysts determined Oetzi had been shot from behind by an arrow, which clipped an artery, causing him to bleed to death.
Ooh.
But once they got into his stomach, they learned so much about his world and his life, and details and a time frame for his 5,000 plus year old murder, which is the fucking mighty power of stomach contents.
So fucking cool.
Isn't it so cool?
Once you die, your stomach's a time capsule.
It can be. And then he died and was encapsulated in ice. So unlike what you were talking about with
capsule
heat.
on capsule on capsule on capsule.
That's what I'm saying. It's a time capsule encapsulated in a frozen capsule.
It's amazing.
So researchers initially thought that his stomach was empty for years. It wasn't until 2011 that researchers realized his previously identified stomach was in fact his colon. Oops.
Come on.
Well, to be fair though, his actual stomach had been pushed unexpectedly really far up into his rib cage, possibly in the process of him freezing.
Oh my God.
So his stomach was where his lungs would have been. So they weren't even looking there.
Whoa.
For a stomach. During his time in the ice, it was pushed up, but his stomach was still full. So full that it's thought that he had a meal less than 2 hours before his death, and his stomach was mostly undigested.
Ah!
So it was like a full and undigested, perfect snapshot of what evolved humans were eating in this region over 5,000 fucking years ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So,
this is so fucking cool.
It's fucking fascinating. Beyond them solving, figuring out the cause of death and solving the murder, the stomach content stuff.
This is by far more important.
It's so fucking cool. So Dr. Klaus Ogel of the Institute of Botany in Innsbruck received about 40 milligrams of material from Oetzi's stomach. Analyzing every milligram, Ogel found remnants of cooked bread made from einkorn, a primitive variety of wheat. This suggested that cooked fucking bread.
Whoa.
Cooked, baked. This suggested that Oetzi's society had the beginnings of agriculture and also had either community kitchens, they had either built outdoor ovens, or in their individual homes they would have had clay ovens to cook bread.
That is so major.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He also discovered red deer and ibex meat and a hefty serving of ibex fat. About 46% of Oetzi's stomach contents were made up of animal fat residues. The Iceman's greasy Last Supper totally makes sense, says Frank Makesner, a microbiologist, because he lived in a cold, high alpine region. Oetzi would have needed to maintain high energy and nutrient supplies to avoid rapid energy loss and starvation in the freezing temperatures.
Wow.
And he seems to have figured out the best diet for thriving in this harsh environment, a mix of carbohydrates, protein, and high energy animal fats. A diet high in fatty meats could also explain why Oetzi was in rather poor cardiovascular health when they autopsied his heart. A study published earlier this year showed that he had hardened plaque around his heart, putting him at risk for a heart attack, but he was killed by an arrow to the back of the head first, so I guess.
Oh my God, the earliest person to have a heart attack.
Pretty much. But Albert Zink, another of the study's co-authors, tells Dvorsky that the Iceman's final meal, quote, probably does not reflect his overall diet. You don't know if that's what he was always eating or if that's because of the time of year that he died, that they were like focusing on prepping for winter. They could have been celebrating some kind of like cultural event.
They could have just got like nailed some really big hunt and like have been eating.
Yeah, I mean, if they're still very much like hunter-gatherers, so it's not like he had access every day to ibex and fucking red deer meat. That was probably a rarer, but he just happened to be killed on like a good eating day.
Like the day after like a celebratory like end of the hunt.
Even. Yeah, maybe. I mean, he ate it within 2 hours of being murdered.
Oh my God.
So it was probably killed that day and then just cooked right up. Ogle also found pollen in the stomach from a plant called the hop hornbeam. Examining it carefully, he found that the cell content within the pollen's outer shell was intact. This told him that the pollen was fresh, since the intercellular material of pollen from the hop hornbeam decays within a few days or weeks of falling to the ground. So it was on whatever he ate, and it had like just fallen. So from that... God. Ogle could tell that Oetzi had died in late spring when the plant sheds its pollen, and that Oetzi came from a village on the Italian side of the Tisenjoch, which is like a mountain. I don't know.
Stop.
Yeah, since analysis of sediment layers showed that the hop hornbeam did not grow on the North or Austrian side of Oetzi's time. So they knew what fucking side of what fucking mountain region, like what area he came from, because of a very specific pollen that just happened to be from a special time of year and consumed that day on the food that he ate and was still intact in his stomach. So they're like, oh, he lived right here.
That's amazing.
Isn't that unfucking believable? It legitimately gives me chills that we're able to discover so much information from the stomach of someone who was fucking murdered 5,000 fucking years ago.
That's why that micro barcode DNA sequencing, whatever the fuck I was talking about earlier.
Like we're gonna know.
Oh my God. You
can imagine how we can apply those new sciences to, anthropological study and like mummies that we already have access to, like remains that we already have access to. I mean, I think it'll be as big of a deal as when like DNA profiling really became common. That
Absolutely. Changed. It's a whole new layer of all of this. That is
it changed forensics for fucking ever. Yeah, it's so
cool. And it also just like kind of reinforces this idea that like whatever you consume becomes part of you on like a molecular level.
And it can become part of history. So when the aliens look at me, it's Easy Mac, baby, and High Chews.
I am mostly SpaghettiOs.
I am representative of my fucking time, baby. I am a time capsule.
I am Lunchables.
We're just a beautiful, struggling depression time capsule, and I'm fucking living for it.
Oh my God. The 20th century, like people digging up our bones are going to be like, oh my God, what happened to humanity in this time?
Y'all were a mess.
Chemicals, babe.
Yeah, biochemical romance.
Wow, this is so cool.
Well, that is that. I'm going to leave the fascinating old world and come into the incredibly silly modern one for the last part of my little seg here.
The silly goose of a modern world.
This silly absolute goose. So we're going from the primeval Alps and the world of ancient man to a Dutch Brothers coffee in Eugene, Oregon. At 9 p.m. on Wednesday, November 24th, 2010.
Woo! My head's spinning.
It's spinning. So at this Dutch Brothers, it's 9 p.m. on a Wednesday, 2010. Two individuals arrive at the coffee shop. They're wearing dark clothing, and their faces are covered from security cameras by like handkerchiefs, not like ski masks, but they put like scarves.
Bandanas.
That's the word I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. One of these individuals forces their way into the Dutch Brothers kiosk and then forces their way behind the counter while the other individual is on like lookout duty just outside.
Okay.
Now, granted, it's 9 p.m. in a coffee shop. There's nobody in there.
No.
And there's only one employee working and they're like getting ready to close. Mm-hmm. So this lone barista, who is definitely not fucking getting paid enough to have weapons aimed at him,
no, give the money.
Yeah. Is told to turn around and place his hands on the back of his head and close his eyes. The plan seems to be a simple snatch and grab armed robbery. One holds down the barista, the other comes in, snatches the cash, bingo bango, no harm done, except, the deep psychological trauma of having a weapon aimed at you and all that jazz, but whatever.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, 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 whatever. Except this all goes horribly wrong for the robbers.
Oh.
The fucking Dutch Brothers coffee barista fights back, and turns out he's packing his own gun.
Oh!
And so he fires
good for you, but also you don't get paid enough. I know you don't get paid enough.
You definitely don't. We'll get to it. Oh. So he fires on the first robber. And just what is inspired me as I was writing this. I have so many thoughts. Obviously, don't do armed robbery. This is America. Everyone has a gun. The raccoons fucking have guns.
Mm-hmm. And they're self-domesticating.
Yes, and they have little thumbs and hands.
Ugh.
Dutch Brothers does not fucking care about you enough to fight this hard for that cash register.
No.
For the few $100 that's in there. If you are held up at your job.
They're also insured.
Exactly.
Give it away.
Hand over the cash. Keep yourself safe. It's not fucking worth it. But, he protected himself. I don't have a fucking problem with that. It's just,
There's no problem to have. He's the victim in this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But this robbery turned into a proper gunfight. The battle barista shot the first robber and advanced to disarm him in the doorway. And the second robber pulled a gun and pointed it at him. And then the gun battle resumes. The second robber fired at the barista a couple times. The barista shot back, and the second robber hightailed it away. I don't think he was even hit. So somehow the barista didn't fucking die. And the second robber got away, but the first robber that the barista did shoot did die. So the dead robber is identified
as... Did the barista get charged?
No.
Okay.
The dead robber is identified as Cyrus Combs, a local of Eugene, Oregon. He had a record of felonious activity, including a weapons charge. 2 years before this 2010 robbery in 2008, he had pleaded guilty to a felony charge of attempting to elude the police. He also pleaded guilty to misdemeanor charges of driving under the influence and unlawful possession of a firearm. The police report indicated that Cyrus Combs died in the coffee shop doorway, clutching a wad of stolen money and his pistol. The face coverings, it turns out, weren't really needed because the coffee shop security cameras were not operational at the time.
Oh.
So they are the second robber got away, Cyrus Combs is dead, but no one is talking about who this second person was. They don't know who his accomplice was. So here comes our old fucking friend forensics, where this is a wild application of stomach contents to identify who the accomplice was in this armed robbery.
What?
Yeah. So a woman named Lisa Pope is a forensic analyst for the Eugene Police Department. She gets a call asking her to assist with the autopsy of Cyrus Combs. She was on hand during the proceedings and recounted her experience in the lab. She said, quote, "The medical examiner was examining the stomach contents, which is a part I don't like because it doesn't smell good." Good for you, Lisa Pope.
We've covered that, Lisa Pope.
Yep. But she said, "I started paying attention. He was pulling out food that was not well digested." End quote. And that is putting it very lightly. It literally looked like Cyrus had just swallowed most of the food he ate whole. It was shocking to Lisa Pope.
Like a military meal. You have to eat everything in 6 minutes or whatever.
Maybe. I don't know. But I don't know why he would. Maybe anxiety. He wasn't chewing. He was just trying to get through his meal and then get to the robbing. Maybe.
Masticate, babe.
Yeah, you gotta fucking chew. Thanks to the process of chewing combined with caustic stomach acids, it's typically more difficult to identify foods from a deceased stomach contents. You kind of have to go on the microscope and figure out what this mush is made of to actually determine what it is.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
But he wasn't chewing.
Nope. Quote, "But the medical examiner is pulling out chunks of hamburger about the size of my index finger, a piece of cheese, a piece of bacon about a half-inch long, And then he pulls out half of a French fry.
Oh my God.
Lisa Pope is not only able to identify that this is a French fry, but can tell, because it's so intact, what fast food chain this French fry came from.
Shut the fuck up.
Yep, so I want you to guess what I described the fry. It was a thick cut fry with the skin still attached.
It's not McDonald's.
Not McDonald's, not Burger King.
It's not Burger King. The skin, I would say it's a flat back from Wendy's.
It is. That is a signature of Wendy's,
really?
Like, quote unquote, hand cut fries. Yup.
That flat back will get you.
It's good shit. Wendy's does have fucking good fries. And now that I think about it, like, the skin really is visible on the sides of most of their fries.
The skin is visible. I think the best thing about Wendy's is their ranch. If you get fries, you got to get the Wendy's ranch.
I wouldn't know because ranch is foul.
Well, I'm not talking to you.
Well, you're literally talking to me
the only person I know in my life who does not like ranch.
I just don't like most ranch. Maybe I would try the Wendy's ranch. I don't like...
Wendy's ranch is particularly delicious.
I don't like Hidden Valley. I don't like it when it's too runny. I like a thick, handmade, like house-made ranch.
Can I challenge you? Next time you go to Wendy's, will you please try their ranch? Because I think...
I'll go tomorrow.
I really think that you might be pleasantly surprised at their ranch. They have
I'll go tomorrow because I've been
ranch.
craving nuggets anyway. And Wendy's does have the best nugs.
They do. Yeah, they do. Don't they have like the spicy nugs also?
They do. I might get both.
Spicy nugs. Get
okay,
some ranch.
I'm almost done. I have like 3 more paragraphs and then we can all go get Wendy's.
Okay,
so
I can talk about ranch forever. Obviously.
Lisa Pope notes that there is a Wendy's restaurant just a few blocks from the Dutch Brothers like kiosk coffee shop where the robbery took place. And so she called the lead detective, which I like to imagine her breathing heavily and screaming, "The fries! The fries!" Like, we've cracked
Check the cameras. I got the fries.
That's literally what she does. So with this lead, they ask the Wendy's around the corner to hand over their surveillance footage, and they do. And there it fucking is, clear as day, video of the deceased suspect and his partner ordering food, no masks on, eating their meal, or rather one of them eating and the other just dunking his food in water and swallowing it whole, I guess. And like on the footage, as if it was just these two people eating, there might be like some way to poke holes or like plausible deniability that the second guy was involved. But this detail, I kid you fucking not, I cannot get over this. They are literally seen on the cameras at their table putting on their bandana mask before they left the restaurant. Like, you guys, dude. I can't. So investigators are shook. They're fucking dumbfounded. Mostly because this footage is so damning. But like Lisa Pope says, quote, if it weren't for the stomach contents, they may have never gotten that video.
No, why
if you weren't able to go, that's a Wendy's French fry, and there's a Wendy's around the corner from this Dutch Brothers.
Oh my God.
They might not ever have known who that second shooter was.
Well, it's not like they would have gotten subpoenas for every fucking, whatever they may have been eating in the area.
No.
Oh my God.
So on January 14th, 2011, a SWAT team burst in and took 27-year-old and incredibly named Brandon Plunk into custody as the second robbery suspect, and he is charged with attempted murder, robbery, burglary, and being a felon in possession of a firearm, just like his buddy Cyrus.
Oh man, I gotta say though, tongue in cheek, poor Cyrus, your last meal was just like cramming full nuggets and fries Wendy's, and whatever the fuck into your mouth.
Yeah, strapping a bandana on your face and thinking you're gonna strike it rich real quick, and then you don't anticipate that the barista has a gun.
Enjoy every meal because it might be your last, and do not just inhale. Not only is it bad for your windpipe, could be your last meal.
Well, it also gave away your buddy.
Yeah, you fucked over your friend. Oh my God.
Think about your friend.
This is so good.
Fucked over your friend by not chewing properly.
Oh.
So the trial began with Plunk testifying that the barista actually knew Cyrus Combs and that the barista unlocked the door for him and that they had never planned on a robbery, but that the cameras picked up a drug deal that had gone bad. And after things had gone sideways, Plunk testified the barista fabricated a story of defending the Dutch brothers from robbery, when in fact it had been a drug deal gone wrong. Now, of course, Battle Barista, who remained anonymous for their safety, totally denied all of this on the stand. And it became a he said, back and forth, finger-pointing situation. The jury would later say that they didn't exactly buy Plunk's story, but that the prosecution was unable to submit significant evidence that Plunk had a weapon at the time or that he was participating in a robbery because they didn't have the Dunn brothers video footage. They only had the Wendy's footage, which didn't show him with a gun.
Oh, well, yeah.
It showed him putting on a bandana, and according to testimony, he was like the lookout, but it wasn't enough to prove that he had gotten into a shootout with the barista. So the events from his perspective were essentially, I went there, my friend got into a fight with the barista, he got shot, the barista came at me with a gun, and I ran. Plunk doesn't have any cash from the robbery because the robbery wasn't successful. There's no proof that he shot at anybody because the cameras weren't working.
So the barista's denying all of this because there's no proof that the barista wasn't the one who opened fire on these two random guys.
I think that the barista, frankly, was telling the truth of what happened, and Plunk is just poking holes in it because he doesn't want to go to jail.
Yeah, but is that why the barista denied the shooting part?
No, Plunk is denying that, not the barista.
Oh, I thought you said the barista denied all of everything.
No. Plunk, the barista denied Plunk's version of events.
Oh, okay.
He's like, this was not a fucking drug deal gone wrong. They came in to rob the kiosk and I had my gun and I held it down.
Okay.
And Plunk is like, no. I went there with my friend. My friend and the barista got into a fight. My friend got shot. Then the barista charged at me and I ran away. But the barista's like, that's not what fucking happened. But Plunk doesn't, like I said, Plunk doesn't have any of the money from the robbery because the robbery didn't work. There's no proof that he shot at anybody because the cameras weren't working. Because there's no cameras, there's no proof he had a gun on him at that time. And so Plunk was acquitted.
Jesus.
Yeah. So like, regardless of the Wendy's footage and the fact that I think he fucking did it, like, I think he's full of shit. I do still think this was the right call on the jury's part because they just did not have enough evidence to actually convict him. And it's that simple. Like, if we can't respect the system and, not frivolously put people away when there isn't sufficient evidence to do so, even if it's really likely that they did it, that's not how it fucking works.
You kind of split the difference.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Our boy Plunk, however, does not stay free for long. On February 12th of 2013, he gets 10 years for charges related to the abuse of his girlfriend, who is also the mother of his kids. And the contents of his stomach during that decade were exclusively shitty prison food. So, suck on that, Plunk. Chew your fries.
Bye, Plunk.
Bye, Plunk.
Masticate your food.
Yeah, fucking Plunk. Anyway, those are my forays into stomach contents for this week.
Oh my God.
I know. How fun.
I'm going to think differently about everything that I shove into my face from now on. Except for this dinner I'm about to eat, which, as you know, consists of Brussels sprouts and pork loin and cauliflower.
Oh my God. My fucking salad should be arriving from across the street in approximately 8 minutes.
Oh my God. We have to go. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks to us for this wonderful gal's pick.
We're fucking amazing.
We hope you enjoyed and we hope you eat deliciously, and we'll see you next week.
We love you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Wine and Crime. Our cover art is by Kala Yip. Music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell. Editing by Jonathan Camp. Our production manager is Andrea Gardner. For photos and sources, check out our blog at wineandcrimepodcast.com. You can follow us on all the socials at Wine and Crime Pod. If you have questions, answers, or recommendations to share, email us at wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. It is the best way to spread the word. If you'd like to show your support and get access to all sorts of wine-fueled bonus content, visit our Patreon page. Cheers!